Welcome. Everybody got a blanket if you need one. Do you have a blanket? Okay. So let's just begin tuning into our heart space. And as we align into the heart, I want you to imagine this amazing pink rose. This pink rose that may seem small, I want you to imagine that it gets really big and that this space that we're in is the temple of the rose. This translucent pink rose. We're asking to attune, I'm asking that if it feels right for you to attune your heart space to the presence that you are, the eternal presence, and to witness with me this temple of the rose. And so this attuning to this eternal presence that I am, acknowledging each other's eternal presence. And acknowledging that rose vibration, so that high frequency that the rose holds gives us symbolism of what we're sitting in. We're sitting in this divine love, as well as we are that. So we'll talk a lot today about what seems like outer is inner and what inner is outer. And then set any intention that you have and see it already so. And we're setting our intention, seeing it already so, acknowledging the perfection of it already so, and that even if we seem like we see stages of it prior to the creation is finished, that stage is already so. And then we'll also be acknowledging, so that let the intention go. We'll also be acknowledging that the seat that you're in is a crystalline golden seat. So accentuate with your imagination your seat that you're sitting in. This crystalline golden seat that is easily able to attune that, again, that eternal presence, the acknowledgement of what you really are. Formlessness that's showing up today is a form in a way. And with your breath, maybe you'll relax your hands. With your breath, imagine, is the seat lighting up a certain way? Play with your imagination for a moment and play with your seat. Remember, your breath can accelerate the particles. And then for completion of this part of our beginning practice, just ask for one understanding or something about your seat, your ascension seat essentially. What is something you're to know about it? And then get a complete, so you'll ask your eternal self, am I complete? And if you feel complete, let your eyes gently open. If you don't feel complete, let the chair know, you know that you'll come back to it. Good. So for a short share, what is something you learned about your chair? So today, there's several overlays. I've already introduced them that want to be acknowledged of the space that we're in. So the spaceship, wherever we find ourselves in a space, essentially is a ship. And the more we use our imagination with the space, we can see actually more of what it wants to show us. More chairs. Yeah. So there's that. The other thing I shared was the overlay of the Temple of the Rose, that I've been meditating here and being able to acknowledge, welcome, that this space is also this beautiful translucent pink rose temple, and she wants to work with us. And that within that, the next overlay is that the City of Lights, Telos in Mount Shasta, wants to come back into and start working with again here. So everywhere seems like it's location. I tell you, you're going to go to Tampa. You're like, well, that location is seemingly, I don't know, east. But when we come into our eternal self-consciousness, there is no necessarily fixed location. It is all non-location, meaning at any time, anywhere, any place, if I imagine it so, it is here. So in our guided meditation towards the end, we're going to play with accessing Telos, which is a 5-tiered city that it was said to have erected inside Mount Shasta around Lemurian timeline, or towards the finale of it, for the masters to go in and start working. And if that's looking at time, but beyond time, it is. And beyond location, wherever we find our imagination, maybe you have a special place you go in your imagination, or you dream, or you remember a home when you're dreaming, or you remember heaven. Like, these places in your imagination in the non-location space are there. And the more we wake up outside of the seemingly electromagnetic experience of the body, and we wake up to our eternal self, which again, we're going deeper into today, our eternal self-consciousness, we start to navigate and find these places that we find familiar, or that will become familiar, or will become acknowledged, because you're going to go there. All of a sudden you're a flying carpet, and you're in your imagination, and you're landing at somewhere new, seemingly new, and you explore. And so one of the first books in 2020 was Quantum Interstellar. One of the books I wrote or channeled was Quantum Interstellar, Starship, and Medbed Aura. That our aura essentially is the best medbed we've got. It's the best healing that could ever take place. And it's the best starship to travel, seemingly outer, but it's inside, into this non-local place where all exists. So I want to introduce these pieces to the puzzle, so that when we're playing, if you play with the exercise we just did more often, which can we just dropped in and imagine the chair was a magical ascension chair that was golden and sparkly, and that it can do anything. It can heal, it can take you places. We all kind of got different things. So playing with this chair exercise and acknowledging when you're sitting in your ascension chair. So last night I was lucid in the dream, and I went up into Telos. So we're going to use a 24 spiral staircase of the DNA to go up into Telos inside Mount Shasta. And we're going to go into the temple and sit in our chair. And so in my dream, I went and sat in my chair, and the masters came and put golden slippers on me, and then put gold all down my back. And so this was essentially my imagination, but it is truly real. It is where I went. Okay? So these things start as seemingly imagination in the innocence of our creative being, or at least let me rephrase that. It's not that they start, but for some, as we came through this, down into this experience through the forgetfulness, and you thought, well, it's a start, I'm playing, I'm a child, I'm imagining, when really maybe you were accessing where you really are eternally. Does that make sense? Somebody have a question or something about that? I feel something. Somebody? Kim?
It's hard to transition my understanding of imagination from what it used to be to the idea of imagination that you present.
Mm-hmm.
And the human part of me wants a way to control. It wants a technique. It wants a recipe, to, like something to set this apart from regular imagination, because I have a belief, limiting belief,
right,
that imagination is not real. Like I'm willing to go with you on
yes,
this idea
yeah,
that I can go there,
mm-hmm,
but I have this in place still.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you spoke of when you were speaking of what you believe of imagination? That it's not real?
I suppose so, yeah. Because that's what I've spent the previous 45 years believing, and it's very much what we were taught as children.
Okay. Can we call that one out?
Sure.
As a cleanse. Anywhere any of us, myself, have unconsciously, subconsciously, consciously, or superconsciously aligned with that the thought, the belief, the knowing, the agreement, the contract, the arrangement, the falsity, that imagination is not real and is childish, and I've identified it with it as my false self, and kept myself imprisoned in the mind in a certain way rather than allowing the imagination to be something else. Would I be willing to release all that, dissolve, dismantle anything, again, that false self identified as the imagination and is keeping it from being whatever else it's meant to be? If you're willing to do that, you let yourself know you're willing to do that. Take a deep breath and imagine just beautiful violet light sparkles, or you'll feel your energy start to shift as you breathe, letting all that go, dissolve, dismantle, release, unwind. Uncreate. And then infinitely receive all your energy back. So I call all my energy back from whatever that was, and I gather it back to my body, my aura, to be used in a new way. So you're reclaiming energy out of any falsity or false belief system that wasn't really true. It was true then. Maybe it's your higher intelligence knows what needs to come home. And then from that reservoir of energy you're receiving back, we're going to expand, or you're going to expand now, asked to expand back into your eternal self, that you utilize your eternal consciousness, wisdom, timeless wisdom to use the imagination the way it's meant to be used. Giving back all your gifts and talents, all your faculties of the pituitary pineal thalamus, this avatar, pure consciousness at large. Your true soul eyes come back online. Your true soul eyes are allowed to open up again. And merge back with the avatar to use this body, to use the eyes, the inner eyes, all 9 eyes, the 2 eyes, in the highest and best ways to project and create reality. And we'll add one more. Anywhere I've identified as false self, and I've been keeping myself from creatorship, from understanding I am creating everything in front of me. Anywhere my false self, or the false self consciousness at large, subconscious, ego, mind, identities, has been keeping my ability to create and allow my creations to be of the eternal self, vision, knowing. instantaneous, miraculous occurrences. And then call all your energy back from anything that's been just dissolved out of, dissolves mental release. Call your energy back. Imagine that you bring it all the way back in. And then embody your eternal self, your eternal consciousness, your eternal eyes. Ask to see only from these eyes, to see from the eyes of truth, from your eternal consciousness as creator. So you are recreating ourselves again and again as creator. I am creator. I give myself full permission to create this that I see here now in wholeness and totality. And I easily know when something is not that. I easily know that if I'm bringing something home to myself, one more clearing. If I bring something in front of me that's a challenge, or I'm questioning, I feel a distortion of any sort being presented, a shadow, I can easily use that as, wow, that's also in the field, in my subconscious. Let me use that purposefully. Let me pull my energy out of it. And then all that energy is brought back to your dantian, your lower belly, to recreate. I am creator. I am creator, and I now create that was seemingly a shadow, that was seemingly a challenge, now to the opposite of that, the solution, the upgrade, the wholeness. I allow myself to be in this stance. And let all that go. Take some just cleansing breath. Center yourself. Stabilize. I'm stabilized in a new way. Maybe do a couple open mouth breaths. If you feel like you need to touch your hands to your thymus for stabilizing and equalizing at 0 point. And then open your eyes when you feel ready. Okay.
That was very helpful.
Okay, great.
I hadn't quite noticed that it was a limiting belief, so that was great to talk that through.
I'm so glad you brought it up. Thank you. And that's the key, to bring it up. So when I would the old lower false self that was afraid of dying, that was afraid of something not working right, or I was going to project it not to work right, and I was going to make something bad happen, then I would quickly, peace, love it, dove it, shoo it away. Instead of going, oh, wait, that's awesome. Bring that thing in. Do you hear that? Mm-hmm. Bring that thing in so that I can use it as fuel to just acknowledge that I was identifying with my false self. My false self is afraid, worried, wondering, questioning, problem. There's 2 levels of wondering. There's the wonderment of bliss in the higher realms of being in the moment. And I wonder what's next. And then there's the wonder, I don't know, this is what's going on. When those come up, those lower realms of questions that feel heavy, distorted, all that I just spoke of, use that and call that out. And even if you know what to say, you get well, what did she say? Just everything that is. And anywhere I've identified and been projecting creation to be that, because creation is perception. How you perceive is how you create. With the 2 eyes, the 1 eye, the 9 eyes, how we perceive is how we create. And if we've been locked in these things, thinking, oh, this is all it, when all of these other eyes are in whole eternal, they're just different eyes of the higher realms, and they see anything outside of this sees in wholeness and perfection. There's no problems outside of the electromagnetic experience. It is wholeness. You say something, it is. It's perfect. The eternal consciousness knows it's love. So it's when we're down here in the elevator, you know, my second near death, I was like this in the elevator. It's down here that if we catch that stuff coming in, then we go, oh, let me use that as fuel. Let me bring it back in, and let me go ahead and clear that I am now clear. I'm an eternal soul. I was somehow falsely identified. I'm coming back in, and let me look back up and be willing to now perceive it whole, to perceive a solution. And all that energy that you called back gets to then go into the projection, which seems like I'm creating a new creation, but creation again is already finished. There's just different probabilities. There's different versions of every creation. They're vibrating differently. They're like this down here, a little bit. And so where am I looking out of? Where am I coming from? And that's why I've gotten so into the omnipresent state as much as I can, which I love meditating. I love being daydreaming mode. I love feeling spacious because I know I'm coming all of it. It's not like just pigeonholing. And I can be more of an observer and surrender and just an isness. And I still may watch different versions of the collective reality, but I'm not pinching off into it or feeling triggered or pulled into it. If the ones that I do feel that pull, then I know I'm actually coming out, and I do have some false identity that has projected and believed and perceived it to be that way, and it is my personal responsibility to play with it because I've obviously created it. It wouldn't be in front of me. I have to create all of this. This is all. There's nothing I wouldn't have created. It's in the scene. I'm particleizing it, projecting it to be here right now. Okay, so coming back, the three things around creatorship that I want you to align, or tune into your heart to see if it matches for you. As we're stepping back into creatorship, you are a creator. Everything that you create is for you. So like, again, no matter what frequency it's at, if it's at a lower frequency, meaning it's if at any sort of duality or separation consciousness that created it, split consciousness, object, subject, paradigm, victimhood, below the heart. If I created that, it's for me. And guess what? It's already finished. It's already been created. Because it wouldn't be right there. I'm not going to create, I'm not projecting things out in front of me that are unfinished. There's not like a gap in that. It's already there. So if the creation is already finished, wouldn't I want to be at the highest probability of the creation? I would. I would like to experience the highest probability of the creation that's already finished. So as creator, I'm going to take responsibility for all my creations. And so I can maintain the highest probability. The highest remedy is meditation. I'm going to meditate to make sure I'm able to actually hold the frequency of that higher probability. And then when I come out of meditation, I'm going to be a walking meditator. I'm going to be in the moment. I'm going to be as joyful as possible. If I have deep sorrow, I'm going to feel it. I'm going to be present with everything. And so as a walking meditator for me, I'm present, I'm observant. I know when to interact with the creation, participate, because it's my purpose. It's my purpose to be present and be curious, like the innocence of a child. So I'm going to know that these are all my creations. I'm going to acknowledge the ones that are not necessarily what I would have wanted to create. Okay? And earlier today and a couple other times recently, people have brought up, I think even here, maybe last Friday, about free will, and what about when you're envisioning for others? Is that okay to envision for the others that they are at their highest potential? Because if a scenario, I'm with somebody, they show me a version of the shadow. Obviously, this is a version of me. For me, everything in front of me also is a version of me that I need to see. It's like I hired the actors in the play and I said, hey, you're going to act this out so I can fully have this experience and merge back and have a higher understanding, forgive and have compassion, maybe right my wrongs of other lifetimes. But I'm going to have these experiences, let's say with another, and they show me a shadow or they show me a lower version. So as a creator, having that experience, I wish it was a really simple remedy. But I'm understanding, I'm asking myself those types of questions, okay, where am I like them, Where did this begin? Why did I create them this way? Why do I believe that for them to be this way? Was it from my parents, the way they interacted, my siblings, my first high school, best friends? All these key people, sometimes you have to actually look at where it began to see, why is this character showing up in this way? Did I hurt someone in a past life that's, having the same type of experience? Do I need to understand, how they're showing up? Again, this is kind of below the heart, more of a separation experience, victim mentality. Once I do that, inner tuning in and getting that greater understanding, now I've got clarity of how I created them, why I created them that way. Once I could get that clarity of seeing my creatorship, meaning you'll hear me a lot say my hand in it. How's my hand in this? How did I create this? Then I have the free will to see them differently. So in my universe, so essentially I feel like all of us are projecting a universe that's personal to me. It's my creation. When others come into my universe, we have some shared agreement to be in each other's universe. They kind of cross over, universe over universe. Or they may not even be their full them. They're off in their own other universe, but I'm having a projection of them. We call that the NPCs, or what is Dolores called? Backdrop people. But the way I look at it is I'm projecting this one universe. You're each projecting your one universe. And in the multiverse, it's all nested into each other. So we're all having this experience for self-realization, to realize ourselves and to realize ourselves as the creator. For growth, for fun, for experience. So coming back to the free will piece, if I perceive them now in the higher probability, then I would have done that work. I came to peace. I forgave myself, forgave them. I see how I created them. Maybe I look at my parents, because let's say it started with my parents. Maybe I go 7 generations deep, seeing all the 7 generations being, all my mother and all her past 7 generations being eternal souls. They're self-realized, they woke up, or they're in that higher probability. I might need to do that kind of work to really get it complete when I'm done with this type of exercise. But I go in, I find where it created itself, and then it's I let them off the hook from being that character. That job's done. And now I'm going to see them being their best self. So I may do the exercise we started with. I call all my energy back, where I falsely identified them and pigeonholed them into being a certain version of themselves. And then I reproject in my universe, seeing a big field. Maybe it's inner and then it goes outer, or it's outer, comes inner. But I see this big field in my mind's eye, and there they are. I don't always see them with a face. Sometimes I'll see them as an orb of light, and I know that the orb of light represents their eternal self. And I imagine having an interaction with them, what it would be like. And then I go in the other room, and there they are. They're a different being. They're the same being, but they're higher presence. So I have free will to do that. I am creator. I am creator, and I have permission to perceive them in a new way. Now they may be in a whole other universe, still doing exact same behaviors, because they are still going up their ascension ladder, their evolutionary ladder of self-realization. And that's where it may seem like these worlds split. And that's what a lot of the channelers are talking about right now, is that the earth is splitting and timelines are splitting, is because some are choosing eternal self. Some are choosing creatorship and are awakening really rapidly. And some will not, and that's okay. And if we, to me, it's not just two timelines splitting. I mean, that seems like, well, maybe, when you get back to the one, there's two. To me, it seems like 9, like infinite billions.
I was going to say that because the multiverse,
right?
Earth is constantly splitting,
yeah.
But we don't recognize it because it's individuals that are either colliding or splitting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that I just wanted to bring that up about the free will piece. You have, for me, and again, I always I'm just sharing my perspective and my experience in this incarnation. For me, being able to do that, I've watched so many people in my life that I thought would never be here with me on the journey, mainly family members, really show up in different ways. Now, there's still a handful that don't, but I don't see them really. They're rarely ever around. And if I do catch wind, I'm thinking of when I had this thought the other day, I could feel her having this interesting thought of me, of the persona. And it's just, she still loves me. She's just seeing me through the eyes of judgment. And that to me, to her, that means love. Right? So, let's do a clearing on that. Anywhere and everywhere I've ever falsely identified with these eyes, and I've judged with these eyes and seen others, knowing I love them, but I was judging them. And I've somehow locked them into that perspective, that version. And all that energy that could be reclaimed back to heal the two eyes, to heal perception, to give a new opportunity for them to be in a new space and way, for me to be in a new space and way, fully embodying the higher consciousness. Would I allow that? I would. And I'm going to gather that energy back. I'm also going to do a second gathering back of anywhere I've perceived that they judged me. Anywhere I had anyone judging me in my perception. And I'm locking them into that perspective. So I'm calling all my energy back from all that. I'm going to allow them to see me with beautiful eyes, beautiful perception. And all that energy gathered back, then just with your own way of visualizing, you're imagining, intend that all that energy now helps to birth. It seems like a birth, but it's aligning into that eternal self creation, the eternal self universe, that where everything and everyone is seeing with eyes of love. And let that sit for a moment, because I really feel it in the room. Maybe let the violet light. If you need to add in a smile to upward the particles, or wave your hands, or do anything in your imagination, just help with that. Feels like you need to push up over your head so that you can get out of all of any density and arrive into a new creation, portal point. And then imagine, if it feels good to you, that you are all in a new space and place. You and all the others, these orbs of light. Good. And then when it feels right, open your eyes. And anyone have something to share about that? I'm just going to shut this bathroom door because we are flying on this carpet.
Yeah,
It's because we're flying right now, and it will go off and on because it's losing water because it's evaporating into the higher planes of the City of Lights. Okay. Anyone want to share anything or observe anything about that? First, ask within, am I meant to share? If you get a yes and you don't know what it is yet, it's okay, it'll come. Anyone got a yes that you're to share?
I had a song come in.
Okay, yes.
It's just really simple. Look into the eyes of love.
Can we sing that together?
I'm sure.
Can you call it out and then we'll respond? Just do it one more time.
Look into the eyes of love.
Look into the eyes of, look into the eyes of love. We did it 2 more times. Look into the eyes of, look into the eyes of love. One more. Look into the eyes of, look into the eyes of love. Did anyone else get a yes? No?
Yes. Maybe. Yeah. That whole exercise, this one, and then some of the discussion prior was very timely for me. There's been a lot as I've been meditating that I find myself suddenly thinking about situations or people or conversations from years ago. And I'm like, why am I thinking about that? What is that all about? I haven't even thought about that person, let alone that situation or that conversation for years. Like, what is happening? So your conversation about the false identity or that being anything, because as I'm asking internally in higher self, like, what is this all about? You know, I'm getting not so much that there's an entanglement, but that there needs to be something released. And like, okay, but it felt like there was more to it. So you answered the additional piece, which is then calling back the energy from it as well. So not just releasing it, but then calling it all back in so that something new can come from it instead of it just being this constant revisiting and replaying of all of that. So I feel like that was very helpful to understand today.
And it has been awesome technique this past week. Really great. Watching instant shifts. Globally and individually. In my universe.
And then the second piece very much resonated with me with my kids right now, because it's like trying to So I love the idea of like, well, I get to see them as this higher version of themselves, and they then get to make their own autonomous decision about whether or not they want to embody that in their normal everyday life. But at least when they're with me or interacting with me, I still get the highest and best version of them because that's what I'm creating.
Yep.
So I like that.
That's a good idea.
Right?
I like that.
Right?
I mean, you can sit for a couple days on this one.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? And then you add in the mirror piece. you know, the mirror work that I've been sharing for a long time, like this exercise mixed with the mirror piece, meaning if I go into the mirror and I'm like, I love you, you look great today. I did one, and like my husband and my daughter came right back in the next room, and they just like verbatim said the things that I just had walked into the mirror and said.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is such a game.
This is so cool.
And my husband did it out of like way out of character. You could tell he was like, what am I even saying?
Why did I say that?
Because I was like, he doesn't. Well, you know, I was in the mirror adorning myself. You look great. I love you. I did something a little more accentuated. I can't remember exactly what it was, but then he like came and he was like, you look so great. I'm like, who are you? And I was like, oh yeah, the mirror. I just said the mirror.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay. So anybody else got to get? I went through.
It's an easy way of living, right?
Yeah, and that's it. So I'm glad. Are you complete? And that piece is so important. Of like, the eternal self that we be gets present, passionate about something. If you don't have anything yet, like can you sit in meditation and ask? Does everybody have something that you know you get lost in doing in the presence? You're just present, like maybe it's gardening or washing dishes or
Feeding
cleaning
birds.
or what?
Feeding birds.
Feeding birds, painting.
Yeah.
I mean, there could have a ton of things. It could be just specific to the moment because you're in that presence, and then what you're in it and you're all the way in it. So more of that, please. That's when I know I'm embodied as the eternal self. Because I'm in the moment, I'm passionately into it, whatever it is. But if I do have one of those things I know that will help me get there, I may go like almost the other way and go do that thing, intending, okay, I'm going to get into this. You know, for me, it's sometimes gardening. I'm all in. Something you have to be present with to do. So can we do it?
Just
Yeah. Can we do a clearing on that one?
yeah.
Anywhere and everywhere we've locked ourselves into any false identification. I'm going to put it out there again. Any belief system, any agreement with creation, any agreement with the reality or the social conditioning that the reality or the linearity or time should be certain ways. Can we go ahead and call our energy back from any of that that's keeping the moment, keeping life, keeping creation, keeping the act of being super present and in joy and bliss, keeping all that. Whatever's keeping all that, just call it back. Call that energy back. I call my energy back from whatever that is. Even if I don't exactly know exactly what it is, I'm calling back. The eternal self I am calls it back. And then allow that energy to be the embodiment. I am the embodiment of this eternal, spacious, timeless wisdom.